Well, guys, somehow it's the 8th episode of the season, and somehow we still have 12 men. But we start this week with our usual last episode recap, and it's Noah and Bennett drama, and then they always give us a little sneak peek of what's to come today, and it's Noah and Bennett drama. What did this show used to use for entertainment before they started casting a bunch of juveniles? Then we get a quick, obviously staged clip of Tayshia, sipping coffee and saying she's got an anxious stomach. Then, just as she's about to take a sip, there's a knock on the door. And it's JoJo, and they both scream with excitement. It's like they know each other. Do they know each other? So they sit down and talk, and JoJo's saying to her, this is so weird. I don't know, what's going through your head, what you think about any of these guys. Well, obviously you don't. You just got here. But the teasing is all in good fun because I love JoJo. So it's one of those talks, Claire had Deanna, Tayshia gets JoJo. But are they going to smell the crotch of someone's pants? No, because JoJo is here for a purpose. And Tayshia is not a weirdo. But pan over to the guys who are all talking, doing their usual talk. And Bennett's like, wow, this is crazy. It's like our group has gotten so much smaller. Yeah, I'm looking around and they still don't have enough chairs for everybody. Then Chris comes in and announces there will be 2 one-on-one dates and 1 group date. Chris says he has no date card because he's leaving to take his son to college. And therefore, JoJo is taking over as host. And when Chris introduces her, I know she's engaged to Jordan and whatever, but you can't tell me these guys didn't have googly eyes for her. She is a very good-looking woman. And now, Tayshia obviously has nothing to worry about. But if I were her, for my own self-confidence, I would prefer maybe a different host. Trista, perhaps. She's way too old for the guys now and might provide some wisdom. Or a man. But JoJo drops off the date card, so there is a date card. Chris. And it's the first one-on-one, and it goes to Zach. And it says, I'm looking for a man I can have a future with. And I'm thinking we're going to get some cool, space futuristic theme something here, but that didn't happen. And this date, we're in for a ride, apparently, because Zach gives us a foreshadow by saying, I'm trusting Tayshia that she's going to take the good with the bad. What's the bad? Got some Zach dirt coming our way. Now it's time for the date, and Tayshia tells us that Zach is not her typical type, that she usually goes for younger guys. And I guess I didn't realize that he was old. Not that 36 is old, but now if you look at him, you're like, okay, yeah, he's got some salt and pepper in there. And we find out the date is a dress-up date, more specifically mock wedding photos. And if you ask me, this cannot be good juju. This is Tayshia's second wedding photo shoot, technically. And if all goes well, she'll be having a third at some point. And did you see the tuxes Zach had to choose from? They were sparkly, multicolored. Of course, he comes out in the cream colored one because that's normal. I realized after this was they were changing clothes. So there'd be some funny photos with some different tuxes. But now I get slightly confused here because Tayshia is really hesitant about this date. She doesn't love the concept. It's making her nervous. I think because she's been previously married. So why are we doing this date? Oh, right, because the producers love to torture the people that trust them most. But they have fun, they get through it and have some wedding photos, I guess, that will really only be cool to keep if you end up together. Now they're talking, and come to find out, Zach was also previously married one time for a year or something. And he doesn't go into any detail about it. So we have to find out what's going on with that. I mean, I guess since he's 36 and has only been married once is a good sign. He's not like Ross Geller. But for a year, And did anyone catch when Zach kind of whispered to Tayshia? Why he had to whisper in her ear, I don't know. But basically telling her that sometimes he has to do a double take. I don't know if that was him trying to be cool or if he's just not cool. But it was a little creepy. Then she kisses him and he does this eyebrow thing, which was also creepy. And my first thought was I don't think she's feeling him as much as she was in the hot tub. But then again, I didn't think she was feeling him in the hot tub. She's weird around him. She's very standoffish. I don't know if that's her way of seduction. I don't know. Then we get to the dinner portion date and she's in a pretty gray dress. A little low cut for me, but she's got the goods. And the goal for her here is to get to know more about Zach. I don't know if that's going to happen. He might be a little distracted. But he actually opens up about a lot of stuff. So Zach tells us about this life-altering experience that he had, which essentially he ended up in a hospital, got surgery, had to take pain meds. And this ultimately leads him down a bad path of drinking and drugs. And this is why his wife left him. And all combined, everything just caused him to be in a very bad headspace. It sounded like some depression type stuff. And at some point during these bad times, Zach he stole a check from his dad, went to the bank, and the bank teller saved his life because she called his dad and was like, hey, you better come over here, pick up your son. And he did. And it all led to him going to rehab, where he has since recovered and he is in recovery. I don't know how long he's been sober for. I think he said it, but I missed it. But hopefully, since he's an addiction specialist, he's kind of got a grasp on things. But Tayshia, through this, was very understanding and appreciative of him sharing his story, and I'm sure it made him feel a lot better that he was able to share that. And she was so accepting of him. She's a great lady, and she gives him the rose. So I guess she really is into him. Even says she's falling for him while they're on the Ferris wheel. I can't get a good read on her. They're weird. When she's in her interview talking about Zach, you're like, wow, she really likes this guy. And then you see her with Zach and it's like, she can't wait to get rid of this guy. That's how I felt about it. Anyway, back at the house, we're with the guys, and Bennett is just reiterating over and over again that Noah is never going to end up with Tayshia. It's a 0% chance. And Lord, let's hope they're not showing this over and over again because she actually ends up with Noah. God, please no. Noah Fence. I've got great jokes. Then the group date card gets read and they list off all the names, and who's not on there? Easy, which means Easy gets the one-on-one. And this also means he gets the haunted house date, which there's no one I would rather have for that. More on that later. So this group date card says, express yourself. And it looks like they're being put into an awkward situation again. And it also looks like maybe they're getting naked again. But no, they're just drawing the naked people. And does the naked couple not look exactly like the kind of people you would expect to be posing for a nude sketch? I don't know if that's a real stereotype, but they just fit the part. Now, we get a preview of these guys' sketches of the naked people, and they are just awful. Really very funny, but just awful. Then they have to put blindfolds on and do clay sculptures, and Bennett uses this as an opportunity to pull his Christian Grey on Tayshia and make out with her while they have the blindfolds on. I'm not even sure he made a sculpture. But we had one guy who made a pizza, another guy who made a heart, and then Blake decides to make a wiener. And I'm pretty sure these sculptures were supposed to represent a symbol of love. Then the final and most intense part of the date comes, where they have to do self-portraits. And whoever opens up the most, I guess, gets some extra one-on-one time with Tayshia. And I get a little confused here because I think I would have just drawn my face. I don't know how to open up by drawing my face. I would have failed at this date. A lot of these guys had great speeches to go with their self-portraits, but nobody drew themselves. Do I not know what a self-portrait is? Actually, you know what? Brendan did great because he made just an empty frame, put his face in it. I looked exactly like him. But yes, they opened up, shared quite a bit, had great sentimental things to tell Tayshia. But oddly enough, Ben decides to completely strip down for his self-portrait. Now, before this though, he was really struggling and was paranoid that he wouldn't have the right words to say, especially because all these other guys were sharing great things. Honestly, I'm not even sure he had a story to share. I think he made some weird thing and was just, I don't know. So instead, last minute, he gets naked. And his speech essentially is, this is my body, my soul, my everything is for you, Tayshia. And then Tayshia runs off to go cry. Not sure what kind of complex that gave Ben. I mean, essentially, he bears this Johnson and it makes her upset. But she comes back, thanks everybody very sincerely, and ends up just choosing everyone for some extra one-on-one time. So I guess probably at this point, Ben is at least a little bit happy that he chose to get naked. Now it's cocktail hour, and I'm sure you're expecting me to comment on her dress. So this one, she looks good. It's Tayshia Adams. She's always going to look good, but I'm not really into underboob, so not my favorite dress. But her makeup, gleamin'. She has a lot of very smooth, heartfelt talks with the guys. Everything's going great. Oh, but real quick, back at the house, Easy gets his date card and it says, I hope you aren't scared of falling in love. And Easy's like, oh, I'm not scared of anything. But are you? We'll see about that. But back to the group date. Tayshia is talking to Ben, and Ben now opens up about how he had an eating disorder for 10 years. And all of these guys seem to have very heavy stories. It's like The Bachelor is turning into America's Next Top Model. It's also kind of weird that the guys feel the need to just tell all of their horror stories before it's too late. Oh my gosh, I have not had time to tell her why I'm kind of a liability as a life partner. It's I need to open up to her before it's too late and I go home, but I also have to walk this fine line of don't scare her too much or else I am gonna go home. I'll make sure she knows that I'm also a little bit fun and laugh sometimes. I don't know, the process is weird. But after all of her talks, the rose goes to Ben. So at least in his case, his horror story was validated. I shouldn't say horror story, that's mean, but you know what I mean. Everybody's got something. Unless you're that other girl. Who was that girl that was like, nothing really bad has happened to me. I just like hang out with my friends all the time. And then she got sent home. See? You gotta have some skeletons in the closet. I'll think of her name. Well, I remember her name because I just had to look her up. Caitlin. Do you remember this girl? Can you see it? She had no issues. But then Tayshia ends the night by addressing Noah and Bennett and says she knows something's going on between the two of them and she's determined to get to the bottom of it. That's it, gone. So now Noah and Bennett are trying to address it themselves. And Bennett says he genuinely has nothing going on with Noah. Nothing against him. Which, are we sure he went to Harvard? I mean, they're both guilty, but Bennett is clearly the main instigator. Unless producers are again trying to throw us off, which wouldn't surprise me. I also kind of wonder if they're thinking this through. Whenever there's drama like this on The Bachelor, whoever's involved in that never gets picked. Unless you're Vienna, but Jake was an idiot. So I wonder if in the midst of this, they're like, wow, this is being filmed right now. This is going to be on the season. We're going to be the villains. There's no way I end up with her. Or maybe they actually think that they might. Now it's finally time for Easy's date. And it appears this is a nighttime date, which I think is cheap because normally on one-on-ones, Tayshia and her date have just like a full day of fun in the sun, followed by nighttime dinner. And he's just nighttime. To start the date, Tayshia hides behind a tree and jumps out and scares the poop out of Easy. And this was like a great setup for what was to come for the rest of the date. And it also helps us realize Easy is a little bit of a sissy. But we come to find out it's actually a ghost hunting date. I thought it was a haunted house date, but it's kind of similar because I guess the resort is haunted. So they're, trying to find the ghosts. So first they go into this room where the ghost, Mr. Morgan's body was found. And it's full of creepiness, a doll, a weird old letter. And these two are screaming at the top of their lungs over everything. This is my favorite date, maybe ever. It's clear the room was set up for this date specifically, but thank you producers for doing that because I laughed out loud literally multiple times. Can't stop talking with my hands. I'm going to sit on them. And so they're wandering around oh my gosh, I literally can't think without using my hands. Okay. They're wandering around the resort and they're hearing noises and they're most frightened by themselves running into things and knocking things over. They're creating their own fear. It's really quite hilarious. Oh, and you know what I noticed? So this season so far, I don't think we've had any cheesy analogies or metaphors like they usually do. And this was a perfect opportunity. They easily could have said, conquering your fears is a lot like falling in love. They both make you want to scream. And lastly, we get to the dinner portion of the date. And things seem great. Easy is making jokes about why he was screaming like a girl. They're both laughing. Things seem easy going. And then it just quickly snowballed into a huge ball of disappointment. Easy decides to bare his soul and confess that he is falling in love with Tayshia. And as he's saying this, anyone with a lick of common sense would see that Tayshia is like, not excited about it. And she wasn't. And she doesn't give him the rose because she's basically not as progressed in her feelings as he is. You see what I mean? They tell you to be vulnerable, to open up, to confess everything that's in your heart of hearts. And then you get sent home. Maybe Easy would have stayed if he hadn't have said that. But another one bites the dust. Another one that Nikki likes bites the dust. I need to quit. But no, it's okay. There's still a lot of good ones left. But that goodbye, it happened all so fast. It was like, hey, I'm falling in love with you. Okay, I'm going to send you home. Really? Yeah, hugs, ta-ta, and then Easy cries on his way home, the poor guy. Even all the guys at home were shocked. Dang it, Tayshia. But anyway, there's one last and final thing that needs to be done this episode, and that is the Noah and Bennettsburg address. That one was a bad joke. We need to address the Noah and Bennett drama. So in comes JoJo Harrison to handle things. I feel like everyone's supposed to be really serious here, but they're all trying not to laugh. It's the first time someone's coming in to be Chris Harrison, and it's just not the same. But she embodies it well. She does a great job. I think she probably practiced hard before she walked out there. But anyway, JoJo's announcing to everybody that there's going to be a 2-on-1 with Noah and Bennett. One person gets a rose, the other person goes home. And once that is taken care of, then we might have a cocktail party. So Noah and Bennett are getting themselves ready, and Bennett is preparing some sort of gift. This immediately is like, okay, if he's got a gift, he's totally going home. But does he? Well, it's 9:51 p.m., so we're clearly not going to have a rose ceremony. I'm not even sure that we'll get to see who stays between Bennett and Noah. But in case you were wondering, Bennett's gift was not for Tayshia, it was for Noah. It was a genuine gift for Noah, a peacemaking gift. And I feel like Bennett, there's like a cog loose up there. I feel like maybe he's missing some street smarts. But the gift includes a red bandana to represent their friendship, which actually seemed kind of nice. Also, a pair of mustache socks, referring to obviously Noah's mustache. And then lastly, there is a book on emotional intelligence, to which Bennett informs Noah he is deficient in 3 out of the 4 categories. So he's literally giving him this book to help him advance in his emotional intelligence. Like genuinely. I don't know why he thought this was a good idea, but I really feel like he was trying to help. But clearly, this doesn't go over well with Noah. It was all weird. And then Tayshia walks out in a banging dress that is her color. But she's frustrated here because she likes both of them. And she's sick of all of this high school drama that's been going on. Apparently, she has to be their mother and take care of it herself. And the whole episode ends with Tayshia saying, "What's in the box?" And there's no answer yet. And we won't know until next week. But next week on The Bachelorette, we have a lie detector test where we find out that Zach has cheated on somebody in the past, and Tayshia does not tolerate cheating. We'll see if that's been taken out of context. Zach sheds some tears, and Riley potentially sends himself home. Not sure yet. But that's about everything there. Started out with 12 guys at the beginning of the episode and whittled ourselves down to 11. If we aren't down to 6 by the end of next week, I quit. Not really, but I'll see you then. Thanks for watching, everybody.